Good morning. Today is day 3 of Getting to Know God. Let us begin in prayer. I'm having a wonderful time. I don't know about you, but I am having a wonderful time going through this Bible in detail. And Father, we thank you. We praise you. In Jesus' name, we bless your holy name, O Heavenly Father. Holy Spirit, we thank you and we praise you. And we ask that you bring knowledge and wisdom to everybody who is listening to this study. We lift up our Bibles and we say, reveal yourself to us from this Bible. Oh, Father God, let us be wise. Show us what it is you want us to know about you and what it is you want us to do. We pray for everyone who has sickness, who has any sort of financial difficulty. We pray for businesses, for jobs, for family, for children, for spouses, for parents, for everybody. We pray it all in Jesus' holy name. We give you praise and glory. Amen. Okay, so write today's date. This is our notebook. Yours could look different. And we're doing chapter 4. Okay? So just write whatever the date and then put Genesis chapter 4. Okay. So we're just going in. I'm not going to read and then go back. I'm going to try thing. So let's recap. In chapter 1, we saw where God created the heavens and the earth in the 7 days, okay? And where God created man and took a rest. At the end of the 6th day, chapter 2 begins with the 7th day where God then took a rest. And then he put man into the garden to take care of the garden. And then he said, then he created woman. Then in chapter 3, we saw when the serpent entered the picture and the woman claimed he beguiled her. And then there is the curse, and now they've been put out of the garden. There is something interesting. I want to go back into chapter 2 and to chapter 3. Now in chapter 2, verse 16 and 17, okay, that is where God gave the commandment to the man. We saw that and we wrote that down. So this is a revisit. We're doing a revisit, which is what I want us to practice, knowing that we will be doing. So we're doing a revisit with chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. And in there, the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayst freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt die. Now, so that's why the commandment was given. But then we go all the way down to 18. 18, that is when God said man should not be alone. So when the commandment was given of not eating, the woman wasn't existent. Man, because the commandment was given and then God said man was should be alone. So we want to write that first we had the commandment or the command, because I don't want to mix it up with the 10 commandments. First we had the command, then man was still alone. At that time man was alone. So the command of verse 16 and 17 was not given to the woman. Okay? It was given to the man. Then we see here verse verse 21. It's not until verse 21 woman created. Verse 21, 22. Okay. Now, what's the importance of all of this? It is the man who had to tell the woman what was the commandment. So that's the importance. The importance is number 1. Important one is man, not God, who informed or told woman about God's commandment. Okay? God's command. This is not the 10 commandments, but God's command, right? So we see that because 16 and 17 was the command. 18, God said the man is still alone and he'll make him a helpmeet. 21 and 22 is when the woman is made. 23 to 24, 5 is when she's introduced and the man is all excited. So now when we get into chapter 3, and this is important, number 2, when we get into chapter 3, we see where the serpent asked the woman, has God said in verse 1, thou shalt not eat of every tree of the garden? And then the woman in verse 2 and 3 says, we may eat of the fruit of the tree of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, thou shalt not eat, neither shalt thou touch it, lest thou die. Now, when yesterday I said, so it's really verse 3 we're looking at. Yesterday I said she added on, but maybe not she, the woman who added on. Maybe the man, when he told her what was the commandment, maybe he added on. Maybe it is man who told woman, okay, not eat and don't touch. You see? So you see how the commandment, how people bring information. So God tell man, don't eat. Okay? When the man tell the woman, because there's nothing here that say that God came a second time and tell the woman, listen, I told him this, so let me tell you, you come a little after, but you're not supposed to eat it. It's more than likely that it is Adam, the man, who told the woman. And when he was saying, he didn't just say, God said don't eat. God said don't touch it. So he's telling her, don't touch it. Okay, so then we go through in chapter 13, where he's there with her. When he sees her touching it, he says nothing, and we are where we are today. So let's begin now, um, so let's begin. So that was a revisit of chapter 2, 16 and 17, and then chapter 3, verse 3, to see that it is man who embellished, which is what we love to do. We love to add on. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. The church loves to do it. Religion loves to do it. People just love to do it. Don't do this. We like to add on more instruction. So man embellished God's command. He went from don't eat to don't eat, don't touch. Okay. And another thing that we need to realize, which is important, so that's importance number 3, is the woman really didn't disobey God. The woman disobeyed man. Because God didn't directly tell woman. God didn't directly command woman to not eat. It was man who told woman, don't eat and don't touch. And it was man was with woman when she touched, because she took, eat, and then gave to him. He ate and said nothing. Something come into my mind again. Now, you might disagree with me, which is fine. You might say it, but wait, let's have an open mind. I'm not dissing God, I'm not dissing woman, I'm not dissing man. I'm just going with the story they give us. So something might be triggering in your brain. Write it down, put it in the comments. You might disagree, a word might mean something different to you. You're not seeing it how I seen it, I'm making more of it. That's fine. That's fine. This is what this is all about. We are exploring and studying. Now, something else came to me. When God came, he called unto Adam. He didn't call unto Adam and Eve, verse 9, chapter 3. And God called to Adam and said, where art thou? And Adam said, I'm afraid and I'm hiding and everything else in verse 10. And then verse 11, chapter 3, God said to him, hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou should not eat? You see, God knows that it's Adam he commanded. So that's important number 4. This is what this is all about. It's opening up new understanding. So God said in chapter 3, verse 11, I don't know if you're following with me. He commanded, he didn't say, have you eaten of the tree whereof I commanded you all? Or both of all you? He said that I commanded thee. So God said to man in chapter 3:11, God said to man, I commanded thee. So God recognized that it's Adam, it's man he gave the commandment to. Not both, not woman. Okay? So that's the important. And that is why man said, the woman you gave me in verse 12, he said, you told me, but she couldn't encourage me. Anyway, we know about that. So let's go on to chapter 4 and see what we learned there and what we could reconnect. And Adam, so they've been kicked out of the garden. God said, because in verse 23, chapter 3, God sent him forth from the garden to till the ground. Now, that might be interesting, yeah? Maybe it's only the man supposed to work. No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm not adding nothing. I love working. I okay with tilling the ground. Okay. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and that word knew. So chapter 4, verse 1, knew, and she conceived, and she bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. So Cain followed after his father, and Abel went and kept sheep. Okay? And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstling of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Cain and to his offering. Now, but unto Cain and his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou dost not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Okay. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not, for I am not my brother's keeper. And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto God, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out from this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that finds me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, in the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat, oh boy, this is where we get difficult, Mehuljalel, and Mehuljalel began Methusalel, and Methusalel began Lamech. Listen, this is how I pronounce it. Just go with it. And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. The harp and the organs were from that time. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificial I told you all I can read, right? In brass and iron, and the sister of Tubal Cain was Nama. And Lamech said unto his wife, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God, she has appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slain. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. Okay, so a lot in here. So the first thing is Adam knew his wife. So Adam had sex with his wife. Okay, so the word knew in biblical times means sexual intercourse. Now, Adam knew Eve, his wife. So it's sexual intercourse with his wife. Okay? And she conceived and she bore Cain and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. Nothing jumps out at me from that. And she again bore his brother. So they had sex again. And his Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep. And Cain was a tiller of the ground, just like Adam. So Cain was, the firstborn carrying on the family business. Okay? So Cain, tiller of ground. Nothing jumping out at me so far, but I'm just making some notes. Okay. Um, and in process of time, so some time has passed. So, it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground, an offering unto God. So he brought the fruit of the ground. Okay. It doesn't tell us the quality of the fruit or anything like that. He just brought the fruit of the ground. And that was supposed to be an offering to God, unto God. And Abel, second born, he was, we know, a keeper of the sheep. So he's not in the family business. He is now doing his own thing different. And Abel brought of the first link of his flock. I want you to see the difference here. First link. He didn't just bring any of any of his flock. Whereas where we saw in verse 3 that Cain brought fruits of the ground, but it didn't say the first fruit, the first season, the best fruit, or whatever. He just brought the fruit of the ground because he's working in the ground. We see where Abel brought the first link of his flock and the fat. He brought the fat of it. So he bring the live first, the first links. Okay, plural, plural. So that is one difference. Cain in verse 3 brought the fruit, singular. So it's singular, right? And nothing said anything about quality. Quality not mentioned. Okay. Now, Abel brought firstlings, meaning the first to be born. Okay. Then he brought plural. He brought more than one. Right? Then he brought fat. The only way you could get fat is if you kill some before. So he killed some before. So get fat. So he bring what was live, the first ones, which is our honor. He bring more than one, and he bring fat, and the fat thereof. And God respected that. Now people have said that, oh, it's because one bring fruit and God didn't respect it, and the other one bring, a flock, something from the flock, and God respected. But that's not it. It's about the quality and it's about the amount. You see, Adam bring. You can't fool God. You can't impress God. Think you're impressing God by being, smart. Cain brought the fruit of the ground. He is a tiller of the ground, so that this is from his product. But he bring one fruit because he didn't say fruits, and they didn't say anything about the quality of it, right? Abel is a keeper of sheep. He brings first link, meaning the first one. He brings more than one because they say first links, and then he brings fat. So he brings three things, and God had respect. So God didn't have any. So that implied God didn't have any respect for it, for Canaan, right? So God wasn't pleased with it. He wasn't impressed. God impressed. So this is something for us to note. Okay? That if you want to impress God, you gotta come good. You got to bring your best, and you got to bring more than one, and you got to bring, you got to make your gift nice and hefty. Okay, you can't go chinky chinky. Let me just take up something and go with it and say I'm offering it to God. Anyway, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering, but unto Cain and his offering he did not respect. So we see there. Now me saying it, I'm saying it to God. I'm saying it about God because it's written here. And what is the reason? The reason is the quality and the quantity of the offering. So important, make a note of this, is your quality. It's not what you're offering. It's your quality that you're offering and the quantity you're offering. So make a note about that. Okay? So let's keep going. And now what happened? And Cain became, now this is the effect of all of this. Cain became very wroth and his countenance fell. You get very wroth. Wroth. Wroth is angry. Wroth. So Cain wroth as anger and countenance fallen. That is sadness. For me. Okay, so he became both angry and sad. And what is it interesting? Verse 6. God said unto Cain, that means God was speaking directly to Cain. So that verse 5, so now into verse 6. God said unto Cain, meaning God speaking. So the one speaking terms directly to Cain. Why art thou wroth? Now you know the reason. He didn't respect the thing. And why is thy countenance fallen? And this is so important. Verse 7. If you do well, shall you not be accepted? That's a question to you still. You and I still this day. If we do well, shall we not also be accepted? Now, we had in chapter 13, we had 4 questions. Let me read them out to you. Where are you? You're still supposed to answer that question. Question number 2, who told you? Who are you listening to? Chapter number 3, God's third question, have you obeyed me? Or the flip side is, have you disobeyed me? God's fourth question, what is this that you've done? Like, what you doing? What you do here? Explain yourself. Okay, so let's get God's fifth question. I hope you're keeping record of this. And the fifth question is, why are you wroth? Why are you upset? Why are you wroth? Why are you wroth with God? Meaning, why are you angry? Why are you angry with God? Think about it. After this is finished, I want you to think about these questions as you go through the day. Why are you angry with God? Now, I'm going to leave some space so I can answer it myself. And now, God's sixth question is, so this is still verse 6 we're in. Why is thy countenance fallen? Why are you sad? Modern day version is, why are you sad? Why are you sad? Why are you angry? And why are you sad? Because hear what God is answering. If you do well, there is no need for you to be angry. If you do well, There is no need for you to be sad. And God answers it. Shall you not be accepted? Okay, so that's God's 7 things. I'm giving you the answer here for number 5 and 6. So the answer, so this is God's answer for questions 5 and 6. He answered it for us. If you do well, he implies you will not you will not have a cause. You will not have cause to be angry or sad. So it's all, remember, I told you to get a highlighter. So this is where we are. I'm leaving spaces so that, I can fill in my own answer. Why am I angry with God? Why am I sad? I have to go back to me. Did I do well? Okay, so what I'm thinking is, the answer is here. If you do well. God has answered it. That's it. You don't want to be angry? You don't want to be sad? Do well. Simple. Simple, simple, simple. If you do well, getting back to that verse 7 we're in. If you do well, shall thou not be accepted. If you do well, you will not have a cause to be angry and sad. If you do well, you will be accepted. He given you the answers right here. And if you do not well, sin lies at the door. He telling you, plain, simple. Sin lies at the door. Okay? So this is if you do well, 2 things. You wouldn't be angry and sad, then you'll be accepted. And therefore you wouldn't be angry and sad. It's circular. Okay, and this is what happens if you don't do well. What's the outcome? Sin lies at the door. Sin lies at the door. Okay, let's break that down. What does it mean that sin lies at the door? It means sin is outside. It's outside the door. It's waiting to come in. It's not in yet, but it's waiting to come in. There is a direct relationship between doing well and sin. If you do well, sin is not the door. Right? That's what it implies. If you do well, sin is not the door. You're not angry. You're not sad. You accept it. But if you don't do well, you attract sin. Sin comes running up to the doorway. You see the importance of this? So actually, I could put another if you do well here. If you do well, sin is not at the door. That's what that implies. Okay, so this is what we have. 3, if you do well. If you do well, you wouldn't be angry. If you do well, you'll be accepted. If you do well, sin will not be at the door. If you don't do well, sin is at the door. In other words, when you don't do the right thing, you attract sin. And that's something you need to understand. So let's put importance. Important. When you don't do well, you attract sin. Because sin wouldn't be at your door if you're doing well. Okay, let's go down. Let's keep going. So, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. I have no idea what I mean. I'm open for any suggestion. This is verse 7, chapter 4, the last part of verse 7. I find that just like, it went through like, and unto thee, meaning you, and unto you shall be his desire, and unto you shall be his desire. Who is his desire? Sin's desire. And unto you shall be sin's desire. And unto you shall be sin's desire, and you shall rule over him. You shall rule over sin. And I'm not getting it. So if you get it, shoot me up the thing. So I'll put it down and put a note that not getting, I'm not understanding. Maybe it will become clearer, or maybe you might have a better understanding. So this is verse 7. And I'm going to put it into, unto you shall be his, meaning sin, desire, and you or thou shall rule over him, meaning sin. Or is it like, is it you and his desire being Abel's desire, and unto you shall be Abel's desire, and you shall rule over Abel. Okay, I'm not getting that. Okay, so we put in a note on that. Okay, verse 8. So if you understand it and you think about it and you think you get it, write it in the comments, send it for me. And I will raise it to the group, because I'm assuming there's going to be a group eventually. Well, anyway, I'll put it out there and we'll talk about it. Okay, and Cain talked with Abel, his brother. So they talk. Cain and Abel talk. Cain and Abel talk. Okay, so they didn't say anything about the kind of conversation, because you could talk and you could argue, you could talk and you could be nice and everything. And it came to pass, that is just like, up there in the process of time, it came to pass. So it seemed like if some time went by, so maybe they talk, what did Cain and Abel talk about? Maybe they talk about why your thing was accepted or whatever. It doesn't tell us. But it tells us it came to pass. So there must have been some period of time when they were in the field. One is a tiller of the ground, and the other one it's in sheep. Okay? And Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. So maybe they had an argument over one, your sheep eating my crop or whatever. We have always assumed that it was because Cain was jealous that God didn't accept his offering but accepted, Abel's offering. And, Cain thought that, God favored Abel. But maybe, because it said it came to pass. So some time has passed since that has happened. They talked. Cain and Abel talked. Then time passed. This is what verse 8 is telling us. That's what we have. Cain and Abel talked. Okay. We don't know about what. We don't know about what or whether they were shouting or they talk or how they talk. We don't know or the tone of the conversation. Okay? And then time passed. So what that means for me is that the offering event was in the past. So then, you can say they moved on. Moved on. I add in things here. You might agree with me, don't agree with me, but I'm trying to get at, what could have happened. Then they were in the field. They were in the field. So it's not like we offer today and tomorrow we in the field and I kill you. It said it came to pass. They were in the field. So here was Cain, tiller, and Abel, shepherd. Okay? And Cain rose up against Abel. Maybe, maybe Abel sheep ate crops. Maybe, we don't know. And then Cain killed Abel. That's what we know. Maybe it could be that he was still harboring, um, the offering situation. Maybe he's still angry. He's still sad and angry. Okay. So we putting it all on there, but the end result is he killed Abel. I mean, yeah, right, right. And then verse 9, and the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? Did I have? Okay. There was a question here that we think. We missed question 7, God's question 7, which is how to be accepted. We go back to verse 7. Shall thou now not be accepted? That was the flip side of if you do well, you'll be accepted. But there's a question, shall thou not be accepted? Basically, the Lord is asking, how, no, shall thou not be accepted? I have to put it, shall thou not be accepted? Um, shall thou not. Basically, it's like, do you know what to do to be accepted? Okay, I just have to do it in the long form. Do you know? So this is the question to you. Do you know what to do to be accepted? And then God answer it. God's answer to question 7. That was question 7. God answer is do well. Do well. Okay? So that is verse 7 again. So basically God's 7th question is, do you know what to do to be accepted? And his answer is do well. Okay, because I wanted to get that in because we get to 8th question here and I didn't want to forget that one. The 8th question is, God's 8th question is in verse 9. Sorry for jumping around, but that we're going to have to get used to that. 8th question. I want you answering all these questions, where is Abel thy brother? God is still asking that, where is Abel thy brother? You could switch out the names, put in your own family name. You could switch out the relationship. Instead of thy brother, thy sister, thy mother, thy father, thy son, thy daughter, thy friend, thy neighbor, thy co-worker. Where is Natalie, your co-worker? Have you checked on her for the COVID? Um, where's that guy you used to date when you were in high school? Have you checked in and see how he's going? Or the woman, or whatever. Those questions are still valid, even to today. Okay, so where is Abel thy brother? And his answer, which is most of us answer, I don't know. I don't know. Is that acceptable answer? No. And then he turns it around on God. So this is his first question, Cain's first question. So I want you to leave some space to answer that 8th question about God. You're leaving a few lines, and you will go in and answer those questions. Cain's first question to God. I don't recall if Adam or Eve ever questioned God, asked God anything, or if they just answered. But here it's Cain, disrespectful again, I will say. So this is the first question to God / second disrespect. You may not agree. Second disrespect to God. The first disrespect was bringing his so let me go back, because that opened up a whole new thing now about disrespect. Okay? Okay. So remember when we were putting what was wrong with um the different offering, and we said Canaan was singular and nothing mentioned about equality, and then Abel own was the firstborn, multiple, plural, and he brought additional fact. So I want you to put now underneath this disrespect and this respect. Okay? So this is, but disrespect, and in brackets put first time. He disrespect God first time to God. He disrespects God by bringing that thing. And then for Abel, put respect to God. Okay? So we going back now, and this is verse what verse 9. We're still in verse 9. And this is Cain's first question to God and his second disrespect. Okay? And what did he say? Am I my brother's keeper? And we tell God that in all kind of different ways. We tell God that in how we use our money. When we prefer to buy a handbag for $3,000-$4,000, and we have family members who can't pay the mortgage for that month, and we tell ourselves, well, we deserve it because we working hard and we went to school and we interview well for this job and we working hard and we earn this money and whatever. And there are people out there, we think that the reason why they can't pay their mortgage is because, they don't working as hard or they're not deserving as we, and if they do things different and everything else. Let me tell you something, everything that you have, you get from God. There's nothing you did that made you deserve what you have. And all you athletes out there and all you actors and all you people with money and the Amazon people and the Zuckerbergs and everything else who think that what you all have, you all get because you're bright and you're good in business and you're, technology or whatever. And the man in the street, the homeless man or whatever, is because he do something wrong, man or woman, and this or whatever. It is not true. There's nothing you did to deserve it. You don't have no kind of special brain or whatever. It was just given unto you for the purpose of this question. Am I my brother's keeper? And every day you answer that question by your actions, your words, your beliefs, your thoughts, etc. When you think only of yourself and not about those around you, and not just in your immediate family, but your neighbors, the greatest command, love God, love your neighbors, love yourself. When you think of that, only of yourself, you are answering this question for God. You are disrespecting Cain the same, I mean God, the same way Cain is disrespecting God. Okay? How you choose to spend your time, who you choose to check on, all of that is answering this question. Am I my brother's keeper? So that question is still valid. Answer that question yourself. Is your lifestyle and how you're behaving and what you're doing reflecting that you are your brother's keeper? Or are you saying to God, am I my brother's keeper? Okay? And then God come in verse 10. Oh Lord. Hear the sadness in God's voice. We heard it already in when he was talking to Adam. And he said, what hast thou done? Remember? That is, he asked that question. What you doing? That was question number 4. Remember that question? What is this that you have done? God is like, you could see him. But Adam is like, do you even understand what you have done? What have you done? What are you doing? What you do here? Remember that question in 4? But he comes back again and now he's asking it to Cain, who is another tiller of the ground, who is Adam's son. And that is telling, because there's these things called generational curses where the parent do it and then the child come and do it and then the grandchild come and do it, the grandfather did it. I mean, sometimes I try to go back into my family in terms of generational curses, and I'm so shocked. I look at other people's family and stuff like that. You see where the grandfather was alcoholic, the father become alcoholic, the son become alcoholic, the little teenage boy now starting to drink, and you're telling yourself, it's the same thing playing out at all the different generations. So here God asked the question to Adam, what have you done? What are you doing? And here he comes now, and years later he's asking his son, what have you done? Okay, so it is God's 9th question, which is a repeat, and the first repeat to question 4. Okay, what have you done? Now, this question for you is not so much of what have you done. What I would like you to do is to go back into your family life and see how many times, with how many things, mental illness, not that that's a sin, I'm not saying it's a sin, but see where you can track that in your life, your whole family tree. Addiction, greed, pride, lying, womanizing, generosity. Let's take some things. Generosity, praising God, helping, providing food, providing clothing. Your grandmother might have been, or your grandfather might have been somebody who, when he come, he gave all the neighbors out of whatever was his crop. Then you come and you see your father, your mother now, they sharing. They mightn't have much, but they're sharing. Now you come now and you have that same kind of spirit of sharing and giving. Track that to your family. Track it to your family and everything, the negative and the positive. Just track it to your family. Because it's going back to that question, what have you done? You know, I know each one of the generation, okay, like going to college, going to high school, you know, your great grandmother was the first woman to go to college, and then your mother, your father come out and do it, your aunt do it or whatever, and then now you know you or your children do it or whatever. Start tracking these things from generation to generation. That'd be a nice exercise for you. That question, because it will help you. Let me tell you what it will help you. It will show you the areas that you want God to ask your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren, the good ones. Like, what have you done? Well, I have continued helping my great grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, my great everybody help, and I'm still helping. But it will also show you the areas you don't want God to ask in your children or your grandchildren or you. What have you done? Okay, so I'm going to do the same exercise and be looking at it. What have you done? But not just from a negative stuff. Um, Track generationally. Each time God could ask this question in your family. If you feel like sharing and you want to put it, then go ahead and put it out there. It'll be nice to see what people came up with. We're doing it both positive, negative. But it might surprise you how many times God asked this question in your family, the different generation. So here we see it being asked, you know, it was first asked to Adam, and now asked to Cain, his son. Let me tell you the verse it was first asked to Adam. It was asked to Adam in chapter 13, chapter 3, verse 13. Yeah. So, so it's chapter 3, verse 13. And now this is chapter 4, verse 10. Okay. The voice of thy brother cried unto me from the ground. Okay. So now what did that tell us about death? Now we know Abel dead. So Abel is dead, but his voice, his blood has voice. So what does it tell us about Abel's death? So this is verse 11. Okay, that your blood has a voice. Unless you want to call God a liar. But this is what God said. God said, the voice of your brother's blood. So your brother's blood has a voice. Cry it, meaning blood could cry. Or the voice could cry. The blood, the voice, blood/voice could cry. I guess by converse, if it could cry, it could laugh, it could be happy, it could praise, it could whatever. Okay. It doesn't say that, but let's think it out to the extent. Unto me. It cries unto me. So the blood voice speaks to God. In this case, it's cry. So you could put cry, you could /speak to God. Okay? From the ground. I guess maybe because they killed him there, it was in the ground. Okay, I don't know. I'll leave a space. If you could work out anything from the ground, what the flood from the ground means, I put it down that because he killed him out in the field, the blood splatter on the ground and it cries out from the ground. But if somebody else get killed in the sea, then it will cry out from the sea. Or if you get in whatever, you get my point. I don't want to go more of it. Okay, wait. What have you done? The voice of your brother. Okay, so we still in verse 10. I have put verse 11. Okay, and now we're into verse 11. And now art thou cursed from the earth. So there is a direct relationship. You, you were disrespectful. You did something wrong. You didn't do well. As a result of not doing well, sin was at the door. Then you commit the sin, which in this case was murder. And now, because of that, there is a punishment, which is a curse. So let's just track that. To verse 11. You have an action, and that action is didn't do well. And because of that action, there is a reaction. And this is sin at the door. And then now you commit a murder in this case. But basically, you commit sin. Okay? So this is an outcome. And then now you have a result or consequence. And this consequence now is you are cursed. In this case, it is from the earth. Okay? So you see how you see how you see how everything has a consequence. Everything. If now in this case, unfortunately, Abel did well. God was pleased, so there was no sin. But there was still a result because he got murdered and his voice is crying out from the ground, unfortunately. So sometimes doing well don't pay, but no, that's not it. But I mean, I'm just trying to show you that things are just building upon, just from the not doing well, from bringing, just bringing the fruit, the fruit from the ground, not bringing the quality fruit. You see, something as simple as that. Instead of bringing the best mango or the best pomegranate or the best whatever they made out the olives, a basket of that, he just bring anything. He grab up everything and he come. And he must even bring in no big set of quantity and everything. Just from that, look how he didn't do well. God wasn't pleased with him. His sin was at the door because he get wrought and sad. He go out there, that eat at him, time pass, something happen, the brother do something, they both in the field, but we don't know what the brother do. He murdered the brother. And now he's cursed from the earth. Okay. Um Verse 11, and now thou art cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. So the earth has a mouth. When thou tillest the ground, it shall now henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A vagabond and a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. So you're cursed from the earth. Your your yield reduced. You are fugitive. A fugitive is someone that don't have always on the run, and you're vagabond. All of that because you couldn't bring a proper basket of fruit. Let that be a lesson to you when you're going to somebody's house next time and you're taking up a basket of fruit or a gift plate or something. So make it the very best that you can bring. I'm only joking. Sorry. I have a sick sense of humor. Okay. And Cain said unto God, so Cain answering back, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Well, actually, no, he's not answering back. Yeah, my punishment. So this is verse 12 was about being a vagabond and say, my punishment is greater than I can bear. So no, that sounds like a cry out. I'm talking to you like, oh my God, my punishment is greater than I could bear because you make me now, you curse me from the earth. When I till the ground, it could be harder to get more. The ground was already hard from my father's day when you curse the ground. Remember the third curse was to the ground, that the ground would yield. Um, and now you're making it harder. And now you're making me a fugitive, a man on the run, and a vagabond, are looking like a vagabond. So it's too much. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. There's another part of the punishment. You see how much different things happen? The curse continues. So this is Cain's curse. Let's just break it down. So it's all starting from verse 11. Okay, so the first one is he cursed from the earth. Okay. Second one is when he till it will it will give him reduced yield. So it will be harder to do and less of a produce. Then he's going to be a fugitive, which is a man on the run. Always looking back, a vagabond. No, no fixed home. Okay? And then he's now saying he will be removed from God's face. Now, this one might be by choice because God didn't say that. But he said he's going to hide. So he has some shame. He's choosing to hide. So Cain choosing to hide from God's face. Maybe shame. Okay? And let's see what else happening. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone who finds me shall slay me. So now we have fear of being killed. And not just fear of being killed by, one person, but by everybody. Which is, if everybody could kill you, that's a very stressful situation. And the Lord, so we go to the curse on Cain is from verses 11 to 14. Because now we start verse 15. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayed Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. So, you see the graciousness of God? That is the graciousness of God. So he killed a man, and then he's like, this is his punishment, and he cried out, and he's like, my punishment is too great for me to bear. And then God has compassion. God said, whosoever kill you, it will be 7 times worse for that person. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So the Lord indicates to people, this is not somebody to kill. Now, something in the back of my mind, talking about God's forgiveness. Is there anything in the prior where God said, let me forgive. Oh, verse chapter 3, verse 21, where Adam and Eve did what they did, but then God went and made coats of skin and clothed them. So, okay, so now we're making another one calling God's compassion. We're going to track it. The first one will be verse chapter 3, verse 21. God made coats of skin and clothed Adam and Eve. Right. Now, number 2 will be this one. This is what I want to do. This is this exercise about. It's how to, you're seeing so much more. Verse 15. So this is chapter 4, verse 50 now. God what sevenfold God, that are like a recompense. Well, God protected Cain. After Cain said the punishment is too great, God protected Cain by anyone who kills him, vengeance, now sevenfold. Now, Cain wouldn't benefit from that, because Cain will be dead. But it will be 7 times worth for that person. And then God put a mark of protection. Because that's what the mark is. If you see them, don't kill him. That is great compassion. Okay, so we let me show you what we do here. This is Cain's curse here, verses 11 to 14, and then here we come now where we see God's compassion. Chapter 3, verse 21, when he made the coats, and then chapter 4, verse 15, where he put a mark, and then he put a sevenfold vengeance. Okay. And Cain went out from the presence of God. That was part of the curse. The same thing with Adam. You see how it's repeating itself? What have you done? And the effect of it is that you have to go away. I want to mark that. This is the question 4. What have you done? And then the result of that is, out of the presence of God, out of God's presence. Then this question, what have you done to Cain? And the result is verse 16, out of God's presence. Okay, of the Lord, and dwell in the land of Nod, in the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife. I don't know where Cain get a wife from. Unfortunately, if it's only Adam and Eve, I don't know where Cain get a wife from. Okay. And she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city. So he's doing well. He built a city, a whole city. Didn't build a house, he built a whole city. And called the name of this city after the name of his son Enoch. So God is blessing him. He's doing well. He's left God present. He's gone to Nod in the east of Eden. He gets married. He has sex. She gets pregnant. She makes a child. He builds a city. He names the city after his son. he's prospering. And Auntie Enoch was born this one and then that. Okay, so he has a grandchild. Oh, you should be noting this, man. Cain prosperity. Cain's prosperity after leaving presence of God. Now, because I want to be fair to people who don't believe in the Bible, who don't believe in God and everything else, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible, I will say Cain, Cain did very well after leaving God present, because before that, Cain was a tiller. Okay? So, before he was a tiller of the ground, offering unacceptable fruit, right? That was what he was before. Now, he leave God presence, and let's see now, starting from verse 16. He leave God presence and he moved to Nod, east of Eden. So he got a new home. Okay. He gets a wife. He gets a son, Enoch. He builds a city. So he's no longer a tiller of the ground. Okay. And he named things. And then now he gets a grandson. That's Irad or whatever. And then he gets a great grandson. And then he gets a great great grandson. Well, I have to find out why God put all of this here, And then he gets a great, great, great grandson, Lamech. Okay, so we get up to that's up taking us all the way to verse 18. Okay, and then we are told that this great 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 grandson takes unto him two wives. Okay, and this is one of the few times that I find they name the females in the Bible. And then that wife, one of the first wives in verse 20, Ada, she bears a child. So now this becomes a great, 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 great grandson of Cain. So Cain's family is going on. Getting big. And he was the father of those that dwell in the tent. So they're prospering, they're dwelling in tents, and they're having cattle. So this is the great 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 grandson of Cain, is now dwelling in tents and having cattle. And his brother, who is also great 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 grandson of Cain, Jubal, he's a musician. He brings the harp and the organ. I don't know if he created it, but he did. And then he has one wife, two children. That is with Ada, his wife Ada. Lamesh with Ada. And then we have Lamech. I can't read, so don't even think. If you could read, God bless you. But I can't read. She bore which will be the great, 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 great grand something. I don't know whether that's a boy or girl. Tubal, we in verse 22. Tubal Cain. Um, so we almost finished. So don't think. And he is now the instructor of uh, Tifisa in brass and iron. So he's an iron worker. Okay, that's all I said to me. And the sister, so she will be the great, 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 great granddaughter. To, I mean, Cain prospered. Nama. Okay, so I guess that was three great great grand and one granddaughter, grandson. And Lamech said unto his wife, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Boy. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, a young man to my hurt. Hold up, hold up. You see why you shouldn't leave? Hold up. Remember when we talk about generational stuff? This is the great, great, great grandson, great, no, great, great, great grandson of Cain. What did he come and do? Kill a man. Okay? So this goes back to the generational of this is another time when God is saying, what have you done? This is question 4 and question 9 being repeated again. I'm going to say it, it's not in the book here, but I'm going to put it in. This is going to be what I could hear God saying, question 10. God's question. I don't want to, no, I don't want to give it a number that's not from God, so I'm going to make it 9B. God question 9B, because at least we're still in the 9, which is a repeat of questions 9 and question 4. I'm going backwards. And this is to Lamech. To Lamech, who is the great. I know, see, thank God we persevered in this. There's so many hidden gems in this Bible. This is the great, great, three greats grandson of Cain. Okay? And the question is, what have you done? And what has he done? He killed a young man. Killed a young man. This is verse 23. The great great grandfather, Cain, killed his brother. And then his grandfather, his great, okay, oh my God. Okay, his great, great, great grandfather, Cain, killed Abel. And his great, 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 four great grandfather, Adam, disobeyed. It fruit. These people are not doing well with fruit. Sorry, that's my sixth sense of humor. But they're really not, they're not doing well with murder, they're doing well with fruit. But anyway, let's not lose the point. The point is, you're seeing it coming down the line. It skip a few generations. We won't told about all things. But here, we see it coming down the line. This, this sort of generational curse. Okay, so let's go. So we're into verse 24 now. And this is why it's important. Why is it important? It's important for you and me. That we think we're doing things now and it's not having effect. But look how it skipped 3-4 generations. And it catch up with the Lamech. And it will keep going if it's not checked. So you want to learn about this so that you can avoid the future generation, yourself and the future generation. Okay, I kill a man. 24. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 times 7. So, okay, so, but he come up with it. So, basically, Cain is sevenfold, and Lamech is 70 times 70-fold. Okay, so he multiplied by a 10 times. That is his. If anybody kill him, basically he's saying if anybody kill him, do the same thing like the grandfather again, the great grandfather, which is, oh, I do something, but I don't want to be killed myself. And if anybody come and kill me, then avenge me 77 times. Okay, just keep that somewhere in your mind. And then we get to verse 25. And Adam knew his wife again. He had sex again, and she bare a son. So that's her third son. And named him Seth. For God, said she, has appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. So she sees this as God blessing her as a replacement for her loss. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. What does that mean? That only then men started to pray to God, or that before God had a direct relationship with mankind, and so he could talk directly, but now he's removed himself, so men have to call out to him. And then this Adam knew his wife. We get the whole genealogy of Cain people. So we have to bring this back up, because Eve is not having this child after Lamech that we just heard about. Eve is going to be having this child. This is Cain here. And Cain had his son Enoch. So it's somewhere wrong. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so this is Cain, and Cain get married, and Cain had his son Enoch. So it will be somewhere wrong in this time period. Eve would have had Seth. Maybe even go down. It wouldn't be all this way down with all of these children and grandchildren and everything else. It will be somewhere up here. Enoch and whatever, that Seth will be born. Okay, so this bit here in verse 25 and 26, it comes after all of this stuff to verse 24, but it really should be up here. And that's one of the things you have to note with the Bible. The Bible tells you things, but it's not telling you things chronologically. So you got to go back up. So Eve has third son, Set, and that is going to be a wrong time of Cain. It will be after Cain leave the presence of God and Cain has gone, of Cain, you know, having, it will be around the time of Cain's son, Enoch, or grandson, Arad. It wouldn't be all the way down how we follow it. And then Seth had Enos. And so that's in 25, 26, verse 26. And then verse 26, important. I want us to note this. Why do you say that? Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. So man began calling upon the name of the Lord after Cain left the presence of God. But we don't know if it's before he had his son Enoch or his grandson or whatever. But somewhere around here, I want to put some notes that Eve had Seth, Seth had Enos, and man began calling upon the name of the Lord. So, so, so it's a sidebar. Yes, thing. So here, Eve had Seth. Seth had Enos. So this is verse 26, verse 25, and verse 26. Men began calling on the name of the Lord. Okay, so I just want to keep these happenings around the same time period and this happening because Cain has left. He's gone to Nod. He has a wife. She bears him a son. Eve has a son called Seth that replaces Abel. Seth would have had a child probably around the same time Enoch would have had his child. We're just assuming, but we're trying to keep it as close as possible. And then around the same time, somewhere in this period, was when men began calling upon the name of the Lord. So by the time Lamech came about, he's here, right? Up here. And these are all his children. By the time he came about, men would have been calling. He would have had his uncle Seth. He would have had his cousin Enos, and men would have been calling on the name of the Lord. So basically, this is so good. Cain moved out of the presence of God. So before this, Cain had a direct, let me put it here, a direct conversation with God. Direct conversations with God. This is before he gets kicked out. So before he got kicked out, he was a tiller of the ground. His offerings weren't acceptable. He had direct communication with God. Then Cain got kicked out from the presence of God. He moved to Noah. What happened here? men have started to now call upon the name of the Lord. There is no more direct communication. Okay? That is what that verse 20. Then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. Somewhere in that, this whole thing here, somewhere in this whole set of stuff, men began to call upon the name of the Lord. So we move from having direct communication with God to being called upon the name of God. And that is the importance of this verse 26. So we moved from direct presence of God to calling upon the name of God. So you see that shift, right? Okay, and that's it for verse 4, Genesis verse 4. Thank you. You know, we're taking this as we see it, and I find some interesting things are coming out. If you agree, shoot me up a comment. If you like. If you don't agree, give me a comment. We're doing this together. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm doing it. I'm doing it slowly. I'm doing this as thoroughly as I possibly can, bearing in mind that it's long. And I'm trying to make the connection to prior things. Hopefully, as we know more, we'll be able to make more connections. And just going wherever the Spirit leads. If you don't believe in the Spirit, still join us. Subscribe so you'll know whenever I'm posting. I want to do this until we reach to the end of this book. It's going to be a nice exercise. So, getting to know God. Thank you so much for coming. Check me out tomorrow. Visit those days that you missed. This is day 3. So visit day 1 and day 2. And keep looking forward for the ongoing days. Take care. Be safe. God bless you.